All right. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Welcome to MoLabs, where we bring the best innovative AI tools to our global creator community. We use these sessions to do live demos with incredible teams like the team we're going to speak to today. And we have really nice conversations about the ever-changing landscape of AI. This is all in hopes of arming the community with the latest and greatest tools, and to make sure that the creative teams that we work with are, sort of using the best in their toolkit to make sure they're making the best creative possible. So just want to introduce the team here. We have Puppetry here with us today. Animation made easy. Puppetry can animate faces using your very own face. They like to say that they strive to use the best-in-class AI technology to create beautiful artifacts, and they believe that the world is going to be a much more beautiful place with AI. They want to help this endeavor, starting with animation, of course. And to just sort of kick us off, I just want to introduce the team that's going to be speaking here today. So you have myself, Tatiana, executive producer at MoFilm. I run the North American production team here, and we have Lee, MoFilm global executive creative director, that will be a part of the conversation. Anisha, our director of operations, who's going to be helping facilitate the question and answer section of this. And then Ben and Saravana, our two co-founders at Puppetry. Between the two of them, they come from big tech, places like Google, Microsoft. I'll let them introduce themselves, but they're both really great, super smart, and we're excited to have them here today. A couple of housekeeping items before we get started. This is going to be recorded. This will be available on all of our social channels. So if you have to duck out, no worries. This will be available to you. And then also, we are going to do a Q&A at the very end, last 10 minutes. So if you have any questions, you want to just write it down, put it straight into the chat, and we'll try to get to as many questions as possible at the very end. And with that, I will pass it over to Saravana and Ben. Thank you so much.
Let me screen share. How's that looking? Everyone seeing that? All right. Hey, everyone. I'm Ben McMahon. I'm from Elbo AI. I'm here with Saravana, my co-founder, and we're really excited to introduce you to our new app that we just made called Puppetry, it's an iOS app to help you make facial animations really easy. So to understand how it works, you need to give us two things, and I'll explain everything. So the first is we need an image of a face. You can think of this as like the puppet. And then we need a video of what you want to animate. And think of this as like the hand inside that puppet. And then what our tool will do is animate it.
Welcome to Puppetry, where you can animate faces using your own face.
Now, believe it or not, I and the system are capable of blinking, but not with that much caffeine in my system. So I want to show you real quick how the app works, so you know how to move around in it. So we click into Puppetry, and you can see here at the bottom, there's some tabs. This main tab is the animator. This is where you're going to do most of the work. I just want to quickly show the other ones. There's a creator. This one is like, I don't have a face to animate. You want to help make one. Think of it like a video game character creator. You can go and pick some hair. Maybe I'll give them curly hair, and you can pick eye colors and things like this. And it's just to give you something to animate. We'll see if it comes up anytime soon. And there he is with curly hair. We have a library. This is where you're going to see all the animations you've made. You can look at the characters you've made, the photos you've uploaded, etc. But the main thing is the animator. And so we're going to pick two things. One is an image to animate. So I have what I've already uploaded. Most of the time, you'll have your characters that you just made. So the curly guy is here. But most of the time, you'll do this import from photos button right here. And you'll go to your photo gallery. And maybe I'll pick this marble bust I've made of myself with AI. But here's a great time, like if you're making something in Midjourney, or you have some creative already from a client, that's where you'd probably import it into the app. Next, we need to pick a driving video. I have a lot of videos because I'm a heavy user. So when you start, you'll have these already there. These are just pre-made driving videos we gave for you. So there's some songs, there's some movie clips, and there's some face tests. I find the face tests are really good to see, hey, this is going to work for my character or not. So I think you'll probably start with these, kind of help you understand the system. For me, my personal favorites are this Lavia at the bottom and this face test. Those are really good for, the Lavia is very quick, see if it works, and the face test are good, like extreme stuff. But most likely what you're gonna do, one of these top two, so import from photos is useful if you have like a camera set up, a studio, maybe a green screen, you know, something a little more professional, and you can make the videos there. But most people will just use this record a video, which will bring up the selfie camera. So we have a little dotted line here. It's not super important. You don't have to like try to line yourself up just right and do it. That's frustrating. The main thing I'm trying to stop you doing is being across the room, or like right here where we're like animating your nose hairs or something like that, right? We just need you somewhere here. So this is all good. You click it, there'll be a countdown. I almost always forget it's there. And then I'm like, hey, everybody, I'm giving a talk over here. And then we stop. All right, so now there's some options. Most of it, you know, you can remove audio or whatever. Create loopable video, we'll just make it seamless. We'll like animate the last few frames. There's some pro features we can talk about later, but not a big deal. We just hit submit. And it goes this pending task. Now it's gonna, you know, go to our servers, it'll wait in some queue, you gotta wait in line with everyone else. Then it's gotta run. So it won't be, so it can be shortish, like 5 minutes, but it won't be surprising if it's 15, 20 minutes. But you are allowed to send more. So I can come back here and maybe take my cartoon face and say, I love you, and set it. And then I can have multiple things in the queue. So you can kind of set up a few things that you want, go have your coffee, come back and see them. You can see I have, I've, you know, practiced this talk. So I have similar things.
Like, hey, everybody, I'm making a talk over here.
So my marble bust.
Like, hey, everybody, I'm making a talk.
Animates, or I can say I love you as a coloring book, and it's all good. All right, so now you may be asking, what can I do with this? So Tyrone is a really creative guy who's been using our app to make these like short films. So we'll watch one because I think it expresses what you can do pretty quickly.
Hey, Charles. I'd like to introduce you to my son, Max. Brought him into the office today. Oh, hey, high five. Up top shelf. Give me some love. Give me some skin. Come on, high five. Don't leave me hanging. Don't leave me hanging. Up top, give me a little 4+1. Oh, what's up with your kid? Oh, he saw you picking your nose earlier.
Perfect. Right, you get the idea. So he makes all these characters, presumably in Midjourney. He acts out all the parts, right? He makes a script and puts it all together, and he's like a one-man show and can make a film with lots of characters in it, and they're a lot of fun. For yourselves, some of the things I was thinking about, right? Because maybe this isn't quite the level you need for like a Super Bowl commercial. Is actually, if you think about the hardest part of your job, it's actually getting people to understand your idea, right? And you have some tools like storyboarding where you show some pictures and some script, but really like no one ever gets it until you show them. And then they're like, oh, that's what you meant. Why didn't you just say that, right? And you're like, I did, come on, seriously. So I think doing something like this, where you like take your script, just take some characters, act it out. You don't even act it out nicely, just it really will drive home. We call it like a moving storyboard. And just be very clear to everyone what you're talking about. You can see how that joke lands with that timing, or it doesn't land. And, you know, if your client likes it, they know what they're getting. And if they don't like it, they can actually give you an informed reason why they don't like it, instead of like some made up thing that they're not, you know, you're not on the same page with. Another idea I heard is you might use this to help you with casting decisions. So for example, you have some tagline you have to say. You might have the idea that the teenage boy should be saying it. So you try it out. You just say the line, have some teenage boy say it. And then, you know, you try the other characters and you're like, actually, the middle-aged mother has a little more bite when she says it, right? It hits better. And you can just play with it. It takes, you know, a few minutes for it to animate, and you can know then and there. So now I'm going to try to help you get the most out of this tool. There's a few tips here, but this is probably the biggest one. And so when you're making the video, the thing you have to understand is the first frame is the most important frame of your video. So that's why I say to start in a neutral position. But really what you want to do is match the face of the image. Let me explain this more. So we don't actually try to make your image do each frame of the video. What we're actually looking at is how does the difference between each frame of video, and then we apply that difference to the first frame. Now I know that's abstract, but this will make it concrete. So this bottom picture is the driving video, and she starts with her mouth open. This character is the one I'm going to animate. She starts with her mouth closed. When this woman closes her mouth, she's got to really close her mouth, right? She'll probably like suck in her lips and really close it. And then when she's opening her mouth to sing, all she's going to go is back to neutral because it's all about the relative difference. And so it looks like she's got her mouth sewn up and she's singing. How can you sing so? And so you get the idea. If that's an effect you want, it's a pretty good horror film effect, you can go for that. But if you want to just kind of match your first frame with that, and then you can open your mouth and you can always clip it later if you need. I find it only really matters for eyes and mouth, eyes being closed, mouth open, that type of thing. Head movement, being turning, rotating, that's all fine because relative, you can always turn your head a little bit more and that feels fine. So it's really just those two. The other thing with the video is that I'm super proud actually, like our thing will just make stuff up, right? So like you start with a closed mouth and you open it, all of a sudden it's got to make teeth and a tongue and like it has eyelids when you blink and all sorts of things. And I'm super proud of how it works, but it's still not the same as your original photo. And the more you make it do it, the more likely it's going to be blurry or just not quite right. So here's a pretty extreme example where she's going all the way left and right. You can see we make up ears, but as it's doing the cheek, it's a little more blurry. It's not the same fidelity. It still works though, as you can see, so feel free to try it. Actually, I find zooming in and out works a little worse, especially the more extreme you go. And rotation seems to be pretty reasonable, but something to play with if you're not liking the result. All right, for images, if you're gonna, so I'll just recap. For video, if you're gonna remember one thing is your first frame is what matters. For video, images, the thing to remember is that we really expect a face and that everything else derives from that. So here we have sad Keanu Reeves, and it's a really small face compared to the whole image, and it's got lots of other complicated things going on. So when I animate it, all right, it's still a little bit funny, but we get all this warping here on the edge because when it rotates the face, it's like rotating the edge.
So is that,
and
Ben, sorry, just to jump in really quickly. So is that the warping is happening because it's pulling in from the environment and detecting that as the face?
no, actually, in this case, it is limiting the face to this area, but it didn't know it has to handle this background stuff. So this is like engineering side on my stuff that I have to fix. And already this works better than it did like a week ago. But basically when it turned the head, it kind of turned the whole image in some sense, more than it should have. And so you get some warping here. So these kind of things you can try. These things will get better all the time. Like I said, this exact thing already will kind of limit the warping to here. But if you're just not liking your result and you notice that, hey, my face takes up 10% of the image, try a face that takes up, 50% of the image, and they'll probably work amazing. There's some extra things, similar things like as you get more extreme accessories away from the face, especially like, I don't have huge hair. So if I'm animating something with huge hair, whisks of hair on the outer edge might not come with me if I'm rotating, but if I'm talking, it's all good, right? So just, you have to play around and just kind of understand some of these things. So that's the downside of us just focusing on his face. The plus side is that you can kind of work with non-humanoids because our thing will really try to make a face out of whatever you give it. And so you can imagine, like, I asked my dog, what happened to that food on top of the table?
You can't handle the truth. Son, we live in a world that has walls, and those walls have to be guarded by men with guns. Who's gonna do it? You, Lieutenant Weinberg?
So this works. I never trained on a dog or cat or anything like that, but it just really tries to make a face out of it, and it succeeds. It puts eyes where the eyes is. It makes up, mouth should be somewhere here, and it works great. it won't work, for example, if I were to give the original picture, which is this full picture of the dog. It'll probably like think this is a pupil and this is another eye, and I'll probably put a mouth here, and it'll look really weird. It might be amusing, it might be horrifying, but it'll definitely be weird.
How much
So
of
if you wanted
it's
to,
recreating off of like Jack's turning left and right? That's the other thing that's interesting about it. It's also getting his mannerisms, right? It's trying to pick
yeah,
that
so
up as well, right?
so once it thinks, oh, the eyes are here, the mouth is here, this is the head, it'll take the movement that came from here and apply it. And so, you know, if you're doing something angry, he'll look a little bit more angry, and the turning of the head and stuff. So it totally works once it assumes there's a face. You just might get weird artifacts, like the mouth was here, I got lucky, but it could have been down here, and like his neck could have talked or something, right? And that would have been weird.
It is interesting
once it
how his eyes, yeah, his eyes are a little bit more different once they go into mode there. Like they're picking up Jack's expression, which is kind of cool.
Yeah, and it's kind of fun actually to see. You can really tell who are the good actors, because our system does so much more with them when they do it than say when I'm making a driving video. Because it captures a lot of these nuances, maybe not to the extreme of the actor, because you know that's why we pay millions of dollars, but like it definitely comes across. All right, one last thing, oops, sorry, is the pro mode. It totally works free. You don't need it. All the base default options work, but there are these nice options if you need more control to do stuff. A lot of them are what you expect. We're adding a bunch more, like upscaling and removing backgrounds and stuff like that. But there's one that's not self-explanatory, or at least not intuitive, I should say. And so there's a more like image, which will be this left side, and that's the default that you always see. And there's a more like video side. And so the image one is trying to do relative motion, and the right one's actually trying to make it look like the video. And so you can see the difference here.
Same thing isn't really real, you know. And don't forget, I'm also just a girl standing in front of a boy, asking him to love her.
So, of course, super impressed. Julia Roberts can smile and cry at the same time. And if you notice, when we look like the video, this is able to capture that a bit better, because the eyes are exactly lined up and everything. So you get a little bit more fidelity on the animation because everything's just lined up. The downside is you're leaking the video a lot more. So if your actor is not the same as your image, like if this was a bald person, then she would go bald, even though she has lots of hair, and it's kind of weird. She wouldn't be completely bald. She'd have the hair, but it would like map to her face, right? So, you know, it's one of these tricky things, but when it works amazing. And then when it doesn't, this always works.
Ben, if I wanted to have like if I wrote a script for Bradley Cooper and then put it through 11 Labs or something, I would have to then, and I don't do a good Bradley Cooper impression, like how could I get it into Puppetry with?
Yeah, your best bet is to lip sync. So there are other systems like DID will take audio and then try to match the mouth. And so you'll get the mouth saying the words just fine. And they'll do a little bit of movements, like the eyes will blink, the head will turn just a tiny bit, but you won't get the expression, right? So ours would be better for the expression. So what you can do is try to lip sync, sorry, my throat. And then you could try to time it up later. You know, you can remove audio and then some other program trying to line up, but basically just play it. To be honest, a lot of the driving videos are me lip syncing, like Rainbow Connection and stuff, and it works pretty well. But you do need a little bit of skill timing yourself to say it. And finally, so the main thing I wanted to call out here is that, you know, it's just me and Saravana. We're not some big scary corporation, even though we've been to plenty of those. We'll actually listen to you and like read your email. So like if you're like, man, I would love to use this, but I just need this thing to work in my workflow, or even worse, like every time I make your thing, I then need to spend 3 hours in this other app to make it work. Let us know what that is, because sometimes we can just put it in and do it automatically for you. The seamless loop was a good example of this. Somebody needed like ambient animations. And so they needed the last frame to look like the first frame. And they were spending hours trying to like munge the last few frames to bring it back. And with our animation system, we were able to just do it, right? So now everyone can have that for free. So just email us and let us know how you're using it, how we can help you, anything. And because we're trying to make this for you and us. So thank you.
Thank you. That was great. So if you don't mind, we'd love to just open it up for a couple of questions. So we have 2 here in the chat. The first question is, can you pay to skip the line in terms of priority for rendering?
So we can, right now, by default, it's not there. We can set that up though. So one is we could try to add it to app and for the pro mode. But if you really want, like if you're going to do a bunch, just contact us and we can maybe set up something for you. But if you're just wanting for every once in a while, it's just something for pro mode eventually.
Yeah, and it really depends on your need. If you're doing a lot of animations back to back, we can set up a separate machine for you and get that working for you so that it's fast enough while you're doing your work. So yeah, please reach out to us.
It does bring up the question of length, right? So if I have an hour-long speech that I wanted to do in here, tell me about that.
Yeah, that's a good question. We let you submit it, but we'll only do that first minute and then turn it. I might give a few more seconds there so you don't have to like cut yourself right off at a minute, but that's kind of the length we're expecting. So if you have an hour-long thing, maybe cut it up into pieces. Again, if you have some production thing, like you're making a commercial product and you need more, just contact us and maybe we can set up a pipeline for you to just do.
Yeah,
but for your personal use, a minute is probably pretty good enough.
It's just it's not a technological limitation. Like we can render it. It's just that it takes a lot of time, and we don't want to block our queues while it's taking. We
don't want one person taking up all our meetings.
Yeah, so that's why it's there. But we can set it up so that it works.
This next question's fun. How far can you turn the puppet's head? And I'm embarrassed to say I actually haven't tried a full 360, but you did see that one. I went side to side and it already, like even when I was completely aside, only let it go to here. I suspect that's about the limit, but I actually haven't tested. So I'm embarrassed to say like, how is that not something I've done? But yeah, I would not expect it to work past that.
But it might one day. Just not today, perhaps.
Yeah, exactly. All these things are like what exists now versus what's going to happen even just a month from now.
It does make you think about the angle too, like going above or below in terms of like how you position yourself around the face itself. It's interesting to see where that's going to go.
Yeah. Again, the more it has to make up, like, but it does know, like, it does know this quite well, but it doesn't know the back of the head. I don't think I've ever been driving a video with the back of the head. So like, it won't know, and it'll make something up. It'll probably, I don't know. I'm very curious what will happen, but I'm sure it'll be fun. The next question, what's the highest resolution video that app can output? Can it do different frame rates? So in general, we'll take your image and scale it down to one dimension being 768. And then we'll output the video at that resolution. So, you might be 768 by 768 or 1024 by 768, something like that. Soon we'll have the pro mode and that can 4x it. So you can upscale at 4x, but it'll be upscaled. It's not going to render it at that 4x. So the image will still be 768 and then you go up. Can it do different frame rates? It'll do the frame rate that you send us the video in. So if you give us a 60 frames per second video, it might not go for a minute though. It's actually limited by a number of frames, not time. So you probably only get a 30-second video, but you can do that at 60 frames a second. And also the pro mode has a thing that you can increase the frame rate. So we'll interpolate the animation in the middle, but you can definitely go down. Like if you're going 12 frames a second and you want a 5-minute video, that will actually work.
What is is there a difference in price point for pro mode and versus regular mode?
So regular mode is completely free. Just always just use it. The pro mode is just these extra features, and there's like a one-time payment you could do for a lifetime, or you can do a monthly thing, but it's not a subscription. You just like pay for the month, and then if you still want to use it, pay for the next month, or you can let it lapse, type of thing.
Great.
And just adding on to the resolution question from James, it's again, we are just still building this app out. It's just been 50 days since we launched it, and we're trying to understand, how to make it work better for artists. So if you have a specific requirement of that you need a 4K resolution or 2K resolution or something, just reach out to us and we can make it work.
Yeah.
Mhm.
It's like there's so many things we can do. We just have to pick the things. So if
Yeah.
you tell us I really want this, then that makes it really easy for us to pick that thing.
Mhm.
Yeah, it looks like we missed one question in there, I think.
Yeah.
There's one more.
So in the future, would a public online figure, such as a video podcaster, for instance, be able to have an enterprise account with your company that manages their avatar?
Yeah, absolutely. Just reach out and we could try to arrange anything. We'll try to make it work for you.
Can it only animate one face, or have you tried a conversation with two puppets?
Yeah, so for now it will pick a face and then animate that. So it's a game of roulette I play, is give it a family photo and see which one it's going to animate. But that's just a engineering limit. If we need to, I can spend the time and make it do more faces. But right now it just picks one.
I love how you're talking about the future. So if you had to predict what this is going to look like in 3 months, do you have any thoughts on that, either of you?
I would guess we'll have more of the whole body, or at least upper torso and arms and hands working. I'm tempted, depending on how there's this thing of can we drive it with just say text, right? Or the audio, like you have this audio of someone saying it. But it's a whole new direction and you lose a lot of the expression. So I'm trying to figure out if that's worth a path going down. But I think there's all these potential paths. It's can I just replace any normal TikTok video of someone on themselves? Is kind of one path. And the other is maybe more the video game route. Do I need to go from just conversations and get an animated avatar? We have to figure that out.
And our whole premise has been that with the regular AI tools like DID and others, which try to come up with the whole expression by themselves, it still feels not human. It misses out on the micro expressions and all. So we are trying to make a tool for people, for creative people, where we try to amplify their creativity, so to speak, right? Like use AI as a tool in their tool set to make their work even better. So in that sense, in 3 years or in the future, I think what we would want to do is capture all these really fine expressions that people do while they're talking and make that part of the animation process. And like Ben said, the upper body, hands are very hard apparently for AI. If you have seen Stable Diffusion or others, they get more fingers and stuff. And I think we'll work towards that. Yeah, so that's what we're trying to do.
You got to work on the beard feature as well.
Yeah.
Yes. You definitely proved that to me. Thank you.
But we can make a beard talk at the moment, which is also fun.
So working with Lee is like working with a dog. It just guesses at a mouth somewhere here, and it's pretty awesome actually.
Yeah.
I have one more question. I know we're at time, but just one more question about usage. So when you make your animation, is it free for commercial use?
Oh, so that's a very good question. So right now we have made it free for personal use for everybody. Just we don't even put a watermark like others do. You can do anything with it. For commercial use, if you're using it, please reach out to us. So for our customers, we are doing specific commercial licenses. Like some people need specific terms, and so we'll be super happy to help you with that. So if it is for anything commercial. But for personal use, it's absolutely free to use today. Yeah.
Yeah, because typically when you're doing that, you also want an NDA with us so that we don't leak out anything and all that. So we just arrange it all together.
Yeah. And the pro mode today, we're just starting out. So we put out this pro mode of lifetime, $99 for a lifetime access to Puppetry and all the pro features in the future. So that, we're trying to get our early adopter people who we can talk to, and we can build on top of it. So we didn't want to put any subscriptions or anything. If you see our app, there won't be even a sign-in button. There is no sign-ins. We wanted to reduce the friction to use as much as possible. So yeah, so please, like, we are in the very early stages of building this app. Please use it and give us your feedback, what you want. Please don't hesitate to ask, and we'll gladly implement it.
Great, thank you. The most collaborative co-founders I've ever met. Well,
thank you.
both so much. This was really a treat for us. And well, obviously this is going to be recorded and placed on our social media channels. And for anybody that's locked into the Zoom, make sure to look out for May 16th. We're doing another one of these with another team called Descript. They're an edit and podcast tool, they're very fun as well. So hope to see you all there soon. And thank you so much.
Thank you, Tatiana, Lee, and Anisha for giving us this opportunity. It's really a privilege. Thank you.
It's our pleasure. Thank you. Talk soon.
Bye.
Bye.